Verne Miller was born in the state of Iowa, but his birth date varies, so it's unknown if he was born in 1892, 1895, or 1896. There are no records of his early life. All that is known is that when he was young, his parents were divorced, and by the time he was a teenager, he had to make his own way in life. In 1914, he moved to Huron in South Dakota and started working as an auto mechanic. Then, in 1916, he enlisted in the US Army and served in expeditions along the border with Mexico, stopping the countless bandit raids that plagued the area. With the outbreak of the First World War, he was sent to France to fight, where he served as an excellent marksman and sniper. His hard work was recognized, and it wasn't long till he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. He even received the Croix de Guerre for his bravery. After the war, he returned to Huron and worked briefly as a patrolman in the city's police force. In 1920, he ran for sheriff in Beadle County. He won the election and was liked by the locals. His time in Beadle County was relatively peaceful, living a modest life with his wife, Mildred. In 1922, Mildred fell ill and was hospitalized. Unable to cover the costs of her medication, Miller decided to use $6,000 of the county funds to pay. After this, he left his job as sheriff, hoping he wouldn't get caught. However, within 3 months, he was tracked down, put on trial, and was sentenced to 2 to 10 years in South Dakota's penitentiary for embezzling $2,600 from county funds. During his time in prison, he became close with the warden and went on to become his chauffeur. This gave Miller extra comforts and allowed him to spend a lot of time outside of the prison while he was working. Once he had spent 2 years in prison, he was released on parole and started to work as a laborer. He disliked this work and planned to work in something more lucrative once his parole had ended. Once he was completely free, he began bootlegging, basically smuggling illegal goods. He left the area, leaving his wife, and he became attracted to a farm girl called Vivian Gibson. Together, they formed a very successful bootlegging business, smuggling alcohol during the Prohibition period. By the end of the decade, Miller was widely known as a gun for hire. Apparently, he was so skilled with the Thompson submachine gun that he could sign his name with bullet holes. On May 31st, 1930, Eugene Red McLaughlin, a friend of Miller, was found dead in the Chicago Canal. He had been killed by members of Al Capone's Chicago gang. Miller tracked down the suspects to a hotel in Fox Lake in Illinois. On the 1st of June, he gunned down the 3 men. It's not totally agreed on that Miller was the gunman. Some attribute the Fox Lake Massacre to members of George Moran's Northside gang. Despite the money Miller and Vivian had made, he wasn't satisfied and teamed up with experienced robbers to commit bank heists throughout the mid and southwest of the United States. His first big bank heist came in July 1930 when he teamed up with Harvey Bailey and George Machine Gun Kelly, stealing $70,000 from a bank in Wilmar, Minnesota. Then, in September of the same year, Miller, along with 4 accomplices, stole $40,000 from a bank in Ottumwa, Iowa. In April of 1931, he carried on his illegal ways, and again, with various accomplices, stole $40,000 from a bank in Sherman, in Texas. So far, all the robberies had gone smoothly. At this point, it was standard business for the group. It was in December of 1932, in a bank robbery in Minneapolis, when things started to go downhill for Miller's criminal career. It was a freezing winter's morning, with frost and ice covering the ground. At around 11 AM, the heist was underway, with the escape car, a black Lincoln, waiting outside of the main entrance. The gang approached the bank from all directions. As they entered, they demanded that the money be put into bags. Loaded with guns, everyone fell to the floor. Problems started when various female employees refused to cooperate. One of the robbers slapped a woman and she started to scream. This provoked more screams from within the bank. The bank guard took advantage of the noise, successfully sounding the alarm. By now, the whole area knew of the robbery inside the bank, especially as anyone on the street could see the armed men through the huge glass windows. Devil, one of the robbers, started to shout at customers and clerks, threatening them with his machine gun so they would stay quiet. Unfortunately for the gang, the police were already nearby. Devil heard the sirens and ran outside to deal with the police. The police car was driving up the street toward him. He started to fire at the policeman. Doyle, the getaway driver, also started firing. Devol began running along the sidewalk in order to get a better shot. However, the icy pavement caused him to slip while firing. As he lost his balance, a spray of bullets hit the pavement and the getaway car, narrowly missing Doyle. He quickly got up and continued shooting at the police car. The rest of the group quickly made it back to the Lincoln before any other officials came to the scene. Doyle moved over and Miller took the driver's seat, as he was considered the best driver in the group. The gang successfully escaped and made it to a nearby town called St. Paul, where they had the second getaway vehicle waiting for them. The heist resulted in the gang earning a total of $22,000. That evening, newspapers published photos of the two dead policemen and the vehicle filled with bullet holes. The problem for Miller's gang was that they were named as the perpetrators. Under the cover of the night, the gang went their separate ways until the news of the robbery cooled down. Miller travelled to Kansas City, where he kept a low profile till June. One evening, Miller received a call informing him that a close friend of his, Frank Jelly Nash, had been sentenced and was going to be locked away. He was asked to help in a plan in order to secure Nash's freedom, and of course, he accepted. On the 17th of June 1933, Nash was escorted by agents from the Bureau of Investigation to Kansas City by train. After that, he was to be moved to Leavenworth Penitentiary. The train arrived perfectly on time at 7:15 AM. Nash was taken by the agents to the car, but as soon as Nash was seated, two men armed with machine guns came out of nowhere and shouted, "Up! Up!" The agents didn't get any time to react, and before they could say a word, the order, "Let 'em have it," was shouted. Machine gun fire rained down on the agents from all sides. What followed next was a gruesome massacre. The agents, Hermanson and Grooms, were directly in the line of fire and were killed almost instantly. Another agent received a bullet to the brain. He was transported to the hospital, but died on the way. The agent Vederli was very fortunate. He was only slightly wounded. He dropped to the floor as soon as he could, crawled to the back of the car, and ran for his life, making it into the station. Smith, another agent, managed to make it out unharmed, dropping to the ground, playing dead. In the car, one of the agents was dead, and another was paralyzed for life, after receiving several bullets to the back. Finally, Nash was slumped forward, having received many bullets to the head. He was actually the first person to have died, which makes historians question if his freedom was the real motive behind the massacre. The events unfolded extremely quickly. The gunfire stopped, and the group realized that all the agents and Nash were dead. They fled the scene as soon as they could, hoping no one had recognized them. The massacre provoked many changes to the Bureau. It became the FBI, and the agents were given the authority to carry firearms at all times, and also to make arrests. The US Attorney General Homer S. Cummings stated that the massacre was a challenge to the government. The army of crime has declared war on the United States. Within 2 weeks, Miller was confirmed as one of the 3 shooters, with the police, FBI, and criminal gangs all looking for him. He became one of the most wanted men in America. After the Kansas City massacre, Miller fled to New York. He stayed with a mobster known as Abner Longy Zwillman. However, following a heated argument between the two, Miller gunned him down and left for Chicago on the 23rd of October 1933. Miller met up with his girlfriend, Vivian, hoping he could stay there for a while. But this wasn't to last, as the next day, federal agents raided her apartment and Miller was forced to shoot his way out of the conflict, only barely managing to escape. Around a month later, on the 29th of November, a motorist in the Michigan area discovered a mutilated body in a ditch by the side of a road. The body had been a victim of a gang slaying, dying in a very cruel manner. Fingerprints confirmed that it was indeed Verne Miller. It's unclear why the criminal world was hunting Miller. It's possible that it was a retaliation for the murder of Zwillman 1 month earlier, or payback for the Fox Lake massacre. However, it's also possible that it was due to him being the only man that was 100% confirmed as a shooter from the Kansas City massacre. Due to the massacre, many gangs were facing increasing pressure from law and order. If they managed to arrest Miller, it was possible that he would start to spill important information, negatively affecting their business and freedom. And if he were no longer alive, law enforcement pressure would ease up. In White Lake, his father's hometown, a memorial service was held with full military rites. Miller's coffin was escorted from White Lake to Huron by uniformed ex-servicemen, as well as Miller's friends and family. Miller was buried in Huron, and the memorial service was overflowing with people. His death came with mixed emotions. While some remembered him as a friendly sheriff and war hero, others saw him as a cold-hearted killer and criminal. Thank you everyone for watching this video on Verne Miller. Thanks for all the get well wishes. I am much better now and I am back to my old way, so hopefully I can upload on Wednesday and Sunday and get back to the normal schedule. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and drop a comment. And I will see all of you in the next Forgotten Life. Thank you.